and
Oddworld.
Hey oddballs, I'm your host Jensen, and welcome to episode 120. We're jumping in today and saying happy birthday, you October 16th babies. It's actually one of my niece's birthdays today. She is a spooky month baby, and so we're going to get to learn about all you October 16th babies. Here we go.
Happy birthday.
Perhaps the primary characteristics that define the personalities of those born on this day are their remarkable intellectual curiosity and their highly developed critical faculties. Irresistibly drawn to analyzing and rationalizing everything they encounter, October 16 people are especially fascinated observers of individual or social human behavior, a mine of endlessly rich variety. Because they have a talent for cutting incisively through layers of obfuscation, exposing existing failings, and presenting their findings with objective honesty, many of those natural critics are suited to such professional pursuits as literary commentary, social or political campaigning, and most scientific or medical specialties. In sharing their conclusions with a wider audience, these individuals are motivated by their genuine desire to help those around them. But such is the uncomfortable accuracy of their observations, as well as their often devastatingly frank mode of expression, that those whom they wish to educate may become defensive and accuse them of being overly judgmental. Others admire those born on this day for their stimulating wit, integrity, and independence of mind, but often choose to do so from a distance, safely removed from the line of fire. And unless those closest to them have extra thick skins or are extremely forgiving, the dual propensity of October 16 people to criticize others while reserving the right to behave as they wish can make them difficult to live with. But despite their tendency to speak their minds, their intentions are rarely malicious, and beneath their tough exterior lies a generous and affectionate heart. Their virtues are helpful, perceptive, knowledgeable. Their vices are belittling, critical, bruising. All right, so happy birthday again, you October 16th babies. If this sounds like you, let me know, or if this sounds like somebody that you know that has an October 16th birthday, let me know. And we're going to go ahead and continue on with our Poltergeist activity.
This comes from elegant_ad_2603 on Reddit.
This update has a few personal realizations as well as experiences. I plan to structure this update as the first 2 paragraphs will be about what happened on a conversational level. After that will be the experiences, and I apologize. Lately my mind has been scattered, so the layout might be a little more messy than usual. I've been trying to be careful on whom I tell experiences of to the house. To whom I tell, most tell me LSD is a hell of a drug, and I get it. Sometimes I struggle with what we see or anything that we've experienced. But it's hard to refute anything when there is a whole Facebook page based on the experiences that the community has experienced. We did find someone who does believe us, and it was refreshing being able to tell our story without judgment. For people who have read past updates, the tenant was feeling cold in certain areas in the house. I made the realization that in all the areas she had stated she felt cold are also the areas where me and my wife have had experiences. It was cool and scary at the same time. But a later conversation told me that I don't know everything that everyone around me, tenants and wife, are experiencing in the 2 houses. The other night, I was talking to my wife, and one thing that bugs me is I want proof that my eye and my mind aren't messing with me. Yes, I am a horror movie and show fan, but I'm under a lot of stress. I just want to make sure I'm not going crazy myself. I presented the idea of putting cameras in the house, and my wife absolutely refuses. She says in her mind she's fine that we are thinking we are experiencing things. However, if we were to have proof, she couldn't live here anymore. I'm not sure I understand the logic, but I also understand we don't have the money to move. Plus, she doesn't want our children to feel like they have no privacy. So I will respect her wishes, but I really have a want to do this now. I'm starting to realize she's more nervous about what's going on in this house than what she's letting me see. And I guess she hasn't told me everything. While I was talking to her, I asked her if she'd seen anything that's significant, meaning anything that couldn't be explained away. She stated that out of nowhere about a week ago, she saw a figure. I kind of laughed and said, "Him again, huh?" And she shook her head and said, "No, I saw a little girl." She told me the story that she was in the kitchen making lunch for the kids, and she could hear the kids in the background playing. She said she felt a tug on the back of her shirt, and she turned around expecting to see my daughter trying to sign for something she wanted. Since my daughter is nonverbal, we have been teaching her sign language. Instead, she saw a black figure a little taller than my daughter, and it went by her. I asked her if she saw any details, and she said the only detail she saw was that it looked like it had long hair. This makes me think it is multiple things here. If you look on the Facebook page made for the experiences in our community, it seems it happened to a couple of others. I know it seems I'm stretching, looking for validation on what we see or hear anywhere, and who knows, maybe I am. It seems interesting and oddly comforting that we aren't the only ones. The next night, my wife was in bed, and I was sitting in the recliner next to the bed. We both heard heavy footsteps that sounded like they were coming to us. What was weird is, it sounded like boots on gravel or dirt. We came up with that it could be our dog who sleeps in her kennel at night, could be digging into her bedding and somehow got to the plastic underneath. But that explanation doesn't satisfy that it sounded like heel to toe of someone walking. So we may have a logical explanation, but I think it's something worth noting. The final experience of this update was with me and my daughter. As any parent knows, toddlers follow you everywhere, and my daughter is no exception. She always follows me as soon as I'm getting home. Well, it was late in the evening, and I was headed to the restroom, and my daughter, of course, wants to follow me. I made it to the bedroom, which didn't have any lights on, and my daughter squeals behind me. So I grab her and pick her up. Now, in our bedroom, our toilet has its own small room that's attached to the main bathroom. On the side, there is a tub and shower. Above the tub is one of those frosted windows. Those ones that let the light in, but you can't see any details in or out of. I had made it to the door of the main bathroom, and I saw through the slightly open door a figure. It looked like it was in front of the window. My daughter pointed at the figure. She didn't seem scared, but as soon as she did this, it disappeared. I opened the door all the way to make sure there wasn't someone there, and my daughter just squealed and signs more. I'm not sure if that was a sign for help or more. In sign language, the gestures are very similar. She hasn't mastered the difference between the two, and so far, she only recognizes 3 signs, but only understands how to do more. I decided to use the kids' bathroom after that. Once again, as things happen, there will be an update 8. After the last post, things have calmed down. Most things have just stopped, other than the random noises at night, and usually the dog or cat gets the blame. However, I'm starting to notice that things come in waves. We have a period where nothing happens for a few weeks, and then it ramps back up with the oddities. We are at the ramp up now. It started in the middle of last week. We heard footsteps in my living room while my wife and I were in our bedroom, in bed for the night. We usually leave the door open because we know my daughter plops in our bed in the middle of the night. It was loud enough for me to want to get up and investigate. And of course I saw nothing out of the ordinary. 2 things happened over the weekend that were notable. The first was in the late evening. Now, my 3-year-old daughter has new focuses. To people who are reading my posts for the first time, my daughter has autism. And it is anything that is alphabet, numbers, or colors. We have bought her puzzles and various toys that involve that. She will demand with squeals, intense staring, and shoving various things in your face that she wants you to say what it is with what color the object is. After you've done that, she happily squeals and goes on with whatever it is next in the chain, and repeats that till we have gone through the whole puzzle or toy or whatever it is. That particular evening, I caught her in her room, holding up a letter and her traditional mannerisms, and squealing happily as if someone told her what she wanted to hear. I walked in, expecting to see my wife, to no one there. The other thing my daughter has learned is how to open doorknobs. This has made my 1-year-old son very happy since he just learned to walk and has discovered the toilet has water, and he loves water. So I now have to make sure I close all the doors my daughter opens to make sure my son doesn't do a toilet dive. Well, one day, I was in the living room with my daughter, playing with her while my son was walking around. He wanders into our bedroom, and suddenly I hear the doorknob open. I see light from our bathroom start to show. 2 seconds later, I hear another doorknob within the master bathroom open. I walk into my bedroom and see the bathroom and closet door open. My son was happily looking into the tub, wanting to get in for a bath. It's odd because the doors open out, and obviously my son isn't even tall enough to reach the knob. I came back into the living room with my son and I looked at my wife, and she responded by saying, "Now, that's weird." As usual, I'll update as things happen. This update has made me a little nervous. I have always been okay speculating what happens in this house. We can argue maybe I'm paranoid and that my wife and I watch too many horror movies and that it is bled into our everyday lives. I won't fully claim that my house is flat out haunted, but I have my suspicions based off of how much we have seen in this house. But something happened that made me question what has been happening even further. I took a picture of something, and it is very hard to debunk. And the more we did, my blood ran cold. Now, this being Reddit, I will attach the pictures on my page if you care to see them. But before I do that, let me tell you how I got here. And just FYI, this will be a long post, so buckle up. This happened just a little over a week ago. My son is at the point where I no longer have to rock him to sleep. All I have to do is hang out with him until he falls asleep on his mat. And after that, I usually go to my room and watch TV. One night, I was on my phone and I looked up and saw a shadow. I quickly opened up my camera and snapped a picture. I looked up and saw the shadow was gone. I looked at the photo and the shadow was pretty dark. Now, my first thought was, maybe it was a toy. Maybe my daughter forgot a toy and it was a coincidence. I saw it and she grabbed it. But that logic doesn't make sense. My daughter is very flat-footed, and we have no carpet anywhere in the house, so you can hear her coming from a mile away. I eventually get up and open the door, and there was nothing in front of the door. A couple days later, something about that photo just doesn't sit right with me, and so I tried to debunk it. The one thing about it is that the shadow was really dark. I placed balls and various toys behind the door and tried to use the same lighting that was in the original photo. The issues I came up against were plentiful. The first issue was that to get close to the darkness of the shadow, I had to have the object really close to the door, which means I could see what it was. If I pushed it away where I couldn't see the object, then the shadow wasn't close enough to the door. Plus, this is a wood veneer, and we keep our floors reasonably clean, so it created a reflection of the object. The original photo, there is no reflection. Lastly, when you blow up the picture, it is potato quality. However, you see some lighter pixels in the middle of the shadow, which insinuated that there were possibly two shadows side by side. A couple days after that, I had the courage to tell my wife about the photo. I had no idea how she would react because it was unnerving, and she was open to me investigating further. I reached out to a local podcast called Weekly Creep. They had talked to me in the past and were great to talk to, and they didn't make me feel like I was insane. I told him about the photo and how I tried to debunk it. I sent him my control photo first to show my efforts, and then showed him the original photo. He agreed it was odd and luckily didn't laugh me away. He said, "Yeah, this is odd. Let me blow it up on my computer and see if I can lighten it up." I agreed. Now, I was expecting him to say, "Dude, you are paranoid as hell. This is your daughter's toy." And to be truthful, I was hoping he would tell me I was full of shit. I would have welcomed it. Instead, when he came back, he shared with me the lightened up photo, and my blood ran cold. He didn't say I was insane, nor did he say it was mistaken for what I thought. Instead, he agreed there was something very odd that showed up. This photo now shows what looks like two child-sized old-style shoes standing at the door. My wife posted the lightened up photo on a popular Texas Facebook page, and it was surprising how many knew of the Black Hope Cemetery. Most people agreed that it looks like shoes at the door. A few thought it looked like an upside-down face looking under the door. I know what I think it is, but curious what y'all think. Like I said, I hope someone can debunk this photo. It would actually put my mind at ease because it's one thing to speculate, and at the end of the day, that's what this photo is. But it's also a photo that could contain evidence. I will put them on my page and tell me what you see. As always, I'll keep y'all updated. As much as I really enjoy these updates, we all have to realize that this is happening. Like, this is actually happening to somebody, and it's not like they're welcoming it and being like, yeah, I want this to happen. It's not fun for them. It's not a great time. However, these spirits are not harming them per se, but they clearly don't want it happening. I do enjoy the fact that this person tries to debunk in any way, shape, and form, but it makes me sad that some of the people that they talk to are making them feel crazy and basically just blaming it like on their horror movie show addictions, or I'm sorry, addiction's probably the wrong word, but I mean, I'm addicted to paranormal stuff, but that's besides the fact. Point is saying that this stuff is basically manifested because of that is just kind of wrong. I think in this case, especially because the freaking house is built over a graveyard. They aren't the only people who are having experiences, and I guarantee there are way more homes that are in this whole subdivision that are having experiences that aren't speaking out about it because they're probably too afraid because they don't want it to be happening. I mean, hell, you build over a graveyard, you are disturbing graves. Like, these people were laid to rest there at one point, and then you just build a house on top of it. Like, if you're going to remove graves, you need to be respectful about it. And I really do not think, based off of all of these stories, that the developer of this subdivision was respectful in any way, shape, or form, especially if they're still finding graves. So that being said, these spirits are probably pissed and are probably wondering what the hell all this stuff is. And I'm not saying all spirits are probably pissed that we're there, but like if they were roaming there before in the graveyard, they're probably roaming there still now. And it's very clear because this person is experiencing things in their home. But as I read these updates, and I'm reading them fresh, so like from here on out, I don't know what's going on, just like you guys. It's fantastic and spooky at the same time, but I really want to go and investigate this person's home. However, I don't live in Texas. I have family in Texas, but I don't live in Texas. Obviously, I'm inviting myself to this person's house and I don't even really know them, although I've kind of gotten to slightly know them just through messages and through reading these updates. But I would want to investigate to figure out who is there and why they are there. And if they are there because that's where their grave was, or if they're just there because of who knows why. That's just it. I want to know why these spirits are there. And I would say it probably is multiple spirits because this person's home was built over a graveyard. And that's it. This family shouldn't feel super crazy because it's happening to other homes. And you can't tell me that all these people are also, big horror fans and watch just that aside, seriously, set that aside and just realize that there are people around you who are having similar, if not the same experiences. And y'all were built on top of a graveyard. I don't want to say their home is haunted. You could say visited. I prefer visited. I think I don't know. I just think it's fun. Haunted sounds spooky, but visited sounds like, I don't know, nothing bad, I guess. But I think this person's home definitely has some visitors, and you guys have to go look at the photos, and you have to hear the EVPs too. This person's Reddit page is full of all their updates, all of the photos, all the EVPs, everything. The freaking photos are wild. I'm going to link their Reddit page below as always, but you have to go see their photos. It really does look like 2 feet standing under the door. And it's freaking dark. It is freaking dark. And just for like a comparison thing, because like I get what they're saying about like the hardwood floors and all that stuff. Having something on the other side of that door, you would have to have it be like an all black thing. Like it would have to be all black because pushing it that close to the door, if it was a toy, hypothetically, if that's what we're going with, if it was a toy or anything, period, it would have to be all black because this is all black. The way that the shadow is, it's not just like sticking something on the other side of the door and how it casts the shadow with the light. Like the shadow of it, it looks like there's 2 feet, but then there's like extra shadow around it that doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. And I don't think this person is going out of their way to create something like this just for shits and giggles. Like, I don't think so. It's really interesting, and I'm really glad that they were able to get a picture, because how often does that happen where you can snap a photo real quick? But I need someone to try to recreate it too, because I cannot figure out for the life of me how that shadow happens like that, because you would be able to tell exactly what it is on the other side of the door. There is a little red ball in this picture too, and if you were to set that on the other side of the door, you would be able to tell it was a red ball. So whatever it is on the other side of this door is super black, like super black. It just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. Also, I'm going to jump to the tenant. I'm glad that this person pointed out that the tenants' cold spots are where their wife and them have had experiences, because I have kind of wondered that after I re-listened to the episode, if like maybe this person experienced the cold spots where they experienced their experiences. I don't know. There's a lot to unpack with this, and I'm going to try to not make this be so long, but it's wild. This is so wild, and it just keeps getting more wild. So I'm just going to leave it at that. If you have any comments or a paranormal story of your own, you can go submit it at my website. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And well, it's an odd world after all. Oddballs, thank you for listening. And if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to leave 5 stars or thumbs up on whatever podcast platform you listen on. If you have any comments for this episode, comment below or head over to Instagram and comment on this episode's preview. To submit a story or for more information, go to it'sanoddworldafterall.com.